The first droplets of liquid deuterium are being fractionated on Alpha Andromedae 2. A little later, perhaps, than they should have been, and so the time has come to review our progress and ensure no other production opportunities have been similarly overlooked. Hello, Legion, this is Hadrian. Thank you for being here. Let's play some more Dyson Sphere Program in our Alpha Andromedae series. So we have deuterium being fractionated by 5 separate facilities here. We also have a doubled up solar belt on this planet and on Alpha Andromedae 4. A little bit messy around here because of where it collides with the hydrogen. But let's take a look at how this situation is developing here. Because we haven't had any... This is the main issue that we've run into. It's not completely stopped, and this is filling up quite quickly. So before long, this will be full, and there will be a lot more oil going this direction, thankfully. But for now, we're a little bit slow on our production of everything that depends on the refined oil coming down this way. We could address this issue by building a few more refineries. That wouldn't be the worst thing in the world. Let's see if we actually have... we do have a few more. So why don't I go ahead and open this episode just by building a few more refineries onto the end of the main refinery line. This is not the double refining, so this is not going to have any of the refined oil consumed at all. And with any luck, nope, it's not quite long enough. Now it should be. Perfect. All right, and we just need to place a tower right about there as a supply drone flies overhead. Oh, I built that the wrong way. And there we go. Power-wise, we have more than enough to support that. But anyway, let's take a look at everything that we can build. Everything that we've researched. Everything that we have the ability to construct. Because we can fractionate deuterium now, and that, honestly, in the last episode, kind of caught me by surprise. So I have interstellar logistics stations, and I've built my first few. I do have EM rail ejectors. I mentioned towards the end of the last episode that we may begin thinking about where to place a Dyson swarm, and we could have one in the system as a means to spread power between worlds. We would probably put the first guns up on the pole so that they could be a little bit closer to areas where, you know, there's always... You can always see the sun. Of course, we have an eclipse right now. So the sun is on the other side of Alpha Andromedae 1. What exquisite timing this is. So, unfortunately, they won't always be able to fire. Although, I'm not sure in the current version of Dyson Sphere Program whether the gas giant doing this would actually prevent the guns from firing. I think it does. The eclipse is about to clear, by the way, so this will be nice to watch. They do a very good job with this effect. We've had one other eclipse in the series so far, but not too many. But we can definitely see the edge of Alpha Andromedae 1's atmosphere starting to glow as the sun comes around the corner. Love that. I think the last time that happened was in the Black Gold episode, when we got oil for the first time. Speaking of that, let's have a quick look. Oh, it seems like we have some lines we can upgrade here too. Maybe we didn't come all the way back down these lines the first time, so this could be helpful. Excellent. All right, that's everything. And as a matter of fact, I said I would do this last episode, or maybe like an episode or two ago. And let's go ahead and do it just to be thorough. I'm going to sweep the upgrade tool over the entirety of the base, just to see if I can catch, any lines that are still... All right, there we go. So there are a number over here that are still using the slower lines. So many, in fact, that I'm going to have to go get some more conveyor belts. But thankfully, that is relatively easily accomplished. See them already scurrying over to me. So while they're doing that, let's continue looking. So we can consider building an EM rail ejector that would have we would at least have a Dyson swarm here in our home system. As I mentioned, I tend not to build the first Dyson Sphere in the home system. If I do anything Dyson Sphere related in this system, it will be partial, so that we don't fully encapsulate the sun. Because I like this original system to be, again, relatively unchanged from its natural state. It is cool to add the natural beauty of there's a somewhat natural beauty to the Dyson swarm, and even a partial sphere can look cool, but when you really start to block the light from the entire sun, it gets a little bit more artificial, a little bit more technological, and takes away from the beauty of this world in particular, I find. So we'll do a partial sphere, possibly, but that's, of course, a sphere is way down the line. We also have the ability to build accumulators now. What we don't have is the ability to charge them yet. We do have geothermal power stations, but we don't have any planets where those are really useful yet. And of course, we can build particle containers. We don't have any factories set up for these yet, I don't believe, but I might be wrong about that. Let's see. If we had factories for them, they would most likely be over here. Also, it looks like some of our metal is running dry. Now, what's going on here? Oh, interesting. Are we backed up? Oh, of course we are. Yeah, we're actually backed up on our energetic graphite right now, which that problem is... Wait, no, we're not. No, we're not. No, we're not. So this line is backed up here. Here's what I'll have to do. I have to do a secondary buffer, which is fine. Like, I actually like the idea of a secondary buffer here. So we already have a storage that is ready for it. So now, this should allow all of those to continue functioning, because they were not functioning. Might have been a pretty recent backup, though, because that cleared really, really fast. So these will fill quickly, but these will also start burning off a little bit faster once this completely fills up. And it is now completely filling up. So now we're seeing a lot more oil going down this direction. That's great news. So even in just the space of the beginning of this episode, we're starting to see this problem resolved. Let's take a look at our plastic situation. Yep. So we're getting more and more plastic built now. It's really just waiting on the fuel, and the fuel is on its way down. So we have graphene over here. We have graphene being exported. We need graphene in order to make particle containers. So that's probably the next thing to go ahead and make sure that we are automatically producing. Also, hang on. Let's go ahead and move these into our inventory. And I'm going to finish doing those upgrades, because that's going to bug me until it's done. Okay, that's everything. And I'll still double check the other side of the base just to be absolutely sure. I'll double check the entire production chain here. Yep. And then we'll run down to the very end here just to be triply sure. Good. All right, so everything is now running on top-tier conveyor belts on our home planet. Fantastic. Just kidding. Found a few more. This is why we're doing this. A little bit overdue. I could have done this from the beginning, but one of the reasons that it's a little bit hit or miss to do this in the beginning, when you don't have a ton of the belts, as I do now, is that obviously it burns through your belts pretty fast. And when you do that, it can leave you like kind of patchy in moments, because this is very haphazard the way I'm doing this. So you have to really, I find, have a good supply of belts ready to go if you're going to do this. If you're going to just run the brush over everything. Interesting. So there are a few more belts that are still getting upgraded. Thankfully, the drones are bringing me what I need, and now it seems like that is truly and completely everything. Which is nice. It's a good feeling, because now we know that all of our resources are moving at the maximum possible speed. Our deuterium storage situation is looking pretty good as well, but anyway, let's turn our attention back to a couple of these new resources, because we are not yet producing photon combiners, which require prisms and circuit boards. So we can actually change that quite quickly, because I already have prisms being produced here. And I don't think they're even going anywhere to speak of. They're going over here, but then nowhere else. So we need... Oh, wow. This might... Ooh. This is going to work amazingly. I didn't even plan this, but look at this. Look what's about to happen. Holy crap. All right. Well, I need to grab some... not chips. They're circuit boards. I need to grab some of those. We're going to put those in our inventory so we have a little bit more space. Really have to keep an eye on that as best I can. And perfect. We need to build 2 of them, so I'll go ahead and queue 2 up. So we're going to have 2 level 2 assemblers here. It's going to be a while before we can think about level 3 assemblers, but we'll have 2 level 2 assemblers. Just kidding. There we go. And now we'll bring this right here. Oh my god, I cannot believe how perfectly that worked. That was not planned at all. Now, of course, these are pulling straight from the line that's also going to our research cube production. So we'll have to keep an eye on that. Oh no, not particle container. We want you to be producing photon combiners. We're going to copy paste that. And then photon combiners combine with graphene to make solar sails, which of course are the ammunition that we use for the EM rail ejector. So we could have, honestly, we could get a Dyson swarm going quite quickly. Might be time to go ahead and focus on that while the rest of these research opportunities complete themselves. We are working on vertical construction, and it does look like we're starting to produce cubes a little bit more rapidly again. We're still maybe short on... Yeah, we're still short on some organic crystals, so these are coming out slowly but surely. Titanium is no longer the problem. So we're definitely entering the stage of the game. I've mentioned this before. It's really one of the more fun aspects of Dyson Sphere Program because it becomes kind of puzzle-solvy. What you have to do, obviously the entire game is puzzle-solving, but what you have to do is start looking for the natural version of a lot of these resources that we're artificially combining right now to create these more advanced resources. So for example, you can obtain something called fire ice, which allows you to produce graphene much more readily. 2 fire ice becomes 1 hydrogen. Notice the hydrogen output of this, and 2 graphene. So 2 fire ice becomes 2 graphene and 1 hydrogen. Whereas, you know, right now, in order to produce 2 graphene, we're consuming 3 energetic graphite and 1 sulfuric acid. And remember, the sulfuric acid also is consuming 3 separate resources just to be made. So that's another resource which we can go out and find and bring back. That, unfortunately, will not be possible until we are flying to other star systems. But that moment, I think, is coming sooner than you might think. So what I'm going to do now, I might be able to pull this off. We don't need to have a ridiculous amount of production for these resources. Here, let's visit you. I can grab a little bit of graphene. That's a little bit more than a little bit. That's slightly more than a little bit, but that's okay. I'm going to go ahead and build the maximum number of these that I can. Because frankly, we need more anyway. But I think what I'm going to be able to do here, if we look at the recipe for solar sails, we combine graphene and these photon combiners, which we're already setting up. So, and let's also look at the rate of them. Yeah, it's 1 and 1. All I need is 1 solar sail, and it actually produces, 1 photon combiner, and it produces 2 solar sails. Now let's see where the graphene is going right now. The graphene is actually coming right by... Oh, this is... Man, I don't do this on purpose. I really don't. But it's flawless how well this came together. So what I can do here... Let me think about the smartest way to do this. This is kind of awkward, but I might be able to make it work if I move this line somewhat. If I moved it over 1, I wouldn't even have to have any space. Yeah, you know what? Let's very temporarily move you. We're going to delete that. We're going to move it over in a staged fashion so that it can continue to function somewhat. Oh, apparently it lifted up here at some point that I didn't notice. That's fine. That's easily resolved. All right, we do still need to power that. Need to replace that Tesla tower that I deleted. So we'll put that right here, pretty much where it was before. Good, everything is powered. And now that we've done that, we can put this right here. We can put another one right next to it. We might even be able to have a third if I can squeeze these in. Hang on, let's try this. If I move you, were you even necessary anymore? Yeah, I don't think I needed that Tesla tower. It's not powering anything, so never mind that. And we'll move the rest of the line over now. Let's see. Let's delete you. Delete you. Done. All right, dropped a little bit of graphene on the ground. And the graphene, we can get rid of our excess here by just loading it. We can get rid of some of the excess anyway by loading it in here. And another thing we can do to get rid of excess, let's see. Can't put any more there, unfortunately. I could always just start building something with graphene in my inventory, so let's see. That's good enough. That should allow us to pick up some. And that was all the graphene on the ground. Perfect. Then the next thing I need to do I have any diamonds in my inventory right now? I do not. All right. So let me go ahead and drop off some of these components so that I can have some free space. I'm just using the tab key to very quickly offload. Again, I appreciate the commenter that reminded me of that. That's something that I've used a bunch. There are definitely some new mechanics that I'm learning about during this series because they're newer to the game, but that's one that I had just kind of forgotten about because I've been playing Dyson Sphere Program since before it was implemented, and so the reminder was very useful. Okay. Now, in this case, we're going to do... Can I do 3? I can. I don't necessarily need 3, but I want to have 3 down here anyway. Or at least, you know what? Let's leave room for 3. How about that? And let me go ahead and build this diamond conveyor belt. I'm going to go ahead and bring this up to this level or so. And then just need to reunite it with the original belt like that. Magic. Oh, did I build it the wrong way? I did. Oops. So this belt is going this direction. But thankfully I can just look at the spot between the... There we go. No. There we go. We're going to delete that last little bit. And yeah, that's the diamond that's feeding the research cubes. Okay, now with that in place, we can go ahead and queue up solar sails. But there's something else we need for solar sails, specifically. And it is this graphene. So we can use a sorter here to bring some of this down to the ground. And it looks like I have the perfect spot to do it. It just depends on if a sorter will fit in the appropriate spot, which we will find out very momentarily. Probably have to use this style, which is a little bit ugly. Let's think what the best way to do this is. Yeah, it'll be... It's not going to be the prettiest thing in the world. Because in order for this to work, I'm going to need to bring this down to the ground, delete that, and then have it entering the sorter on the ground, and have it coming back up and back out onto that line. And now, of course, there's not an easy way for it to reach. Of course there's not. Unless, hang on, there is a solution. Let's reimagine somewhat what we're doing. Still not going to be pretty, but it'll work. Okay. Same deal. And now, from the ground level on the other side, we'll just have this come right out. And I guess if I'm going to have a third at some point, I'll need it to loop farther back. So we'll just have it loop all the way around like so. I can't remember the last time I had a solution like that in DSP, but it works. Alternatively, I could use logistics bots. I'm still mostly thinking in terms of conveyor belts. So that's what I'm accustomed to. I like the options that logistics bots affords, but if I can solve something with spaghetti in a way that's not completely atrocious, which of course I suppose that's a subjective evaluation, but in my mind that's not completely atrocious. I think atrocious is really like the things that take you a ton of time to figure out. So if it starts to become time consuming, I'll just be like, screw it, let's use logistics bots. But if I can have fun solving it with spaghetti by building lines like so, then I would rather do that. Okay. So now we have solar sails being produced, and we just need some storage so that they can be produced properly. So probably what I'm going to do here, I need to think in terms of the fact that I want to have a third. Yeah. I see what I can do. So we need to have the line going the other direction. If we're going to have a third solar sail producer at any point, just thinking in advance, we might not, to tell you the truth, but if we're going to, then it needs to come this direction, and it needs to lift. And honestly, they might just need to start traveling towards the poles at this point. I'm going to bring it past. I'm going to need to go around this. Let's do it in a uniform way. All right, so the belt is automatically going over that conveyor belt there. That's fine. Love that feature. Still not... I'm still not over how handy that is. All right, so now we can do an output. And we have solar sails. This is probably not enough, and I'm aware of that, but this is just getting started. Now, if I'm cautious about this, I might be able to just have... Yeah, here we go. Oh, this is actually already full. All of the resource types are being consumed, so never mind. We will just run these up and they'll have their own storage container shortly. So let's run these up to about... I mean, I could go... Honestly, we could just take them all the way. If these are going to be set up at the poles so that we can begin building a Dyson swarm. And if you don't know what a Dyson swarm is, you're about to find out. It's one of the first truly visually stunning elements of the game that is player-made. And it's right around the corner. Okay, I think I'm pretty much at the point where I would like to be here with these. So let's put a splitter down right there. And we will throw a storage down here. And I'm going to stack this storage as tall as I possibly can. All right, so we don't have a ton of these right now. Why is that? Are they just being produced that slowly? Or is something in demand? They're just being produced this slowly. So it does seem like maybe a third. How long does this process take? 15 per minute. This produces... Okay. Slightly slower. How slow exactly? 15 by 20. Trying to think of the percentage comparison and convert it correctly in my head. So if these are producing at 20, that's 25% slower. Or if you're going the other direction, it's 33%. It's a 33% increase here. So that's what makes me feel like if I have a... We're not short on these, though, because these produce faster. That's what's making me feel like I might be able to balance this by just having a third. I'm doing very fuzzy math right now, just on just the basic percentages, but I'm going to try it. Let's go ahead and add another one as planned. As discussed. I'm going to move you a little bit farther. All right, and you need some graphene. There we go. All right, so now we're building those. And we are almost out of time for this episode, but another thing that we can start thinking about as well is where we are producing particle containers. So particle containers, I might have called them particle colliders earlier. That is a building that we'll have later on, but we don't currently have particle colliders. We have particle containers. We can make them using copper, electromagnetic turbines, and graphene, all of which are pretty close to this side of the base. So we have graphene already coming this way. And it looks like it's stopping there, because it's just going towards the production of these. Let me see what my capacity is on these. All right, we're fine. So if I look at my copper situation, all of my main resources here are stacked with the exception of this. And this makes sense, actually, because what's happening right now is that this storage is filling up. As soon as this storage fills up, then our original backstock over here will start filling up. But we have copper here, and it's only going out to there and then stopping. So we need copper, we need electromagnetic turbines, which are already being brought over here. Let's see, where exactly are they? So it looks like we may have an import shortage on electromagnetic turbines. They're coming, but they're just not coming very fast. So next episode, we might owe Alpha Andromedae 4 a visit to kind of figure out what's going on there. Because if we're going to be building things that rely on those turbines, we need that resource not to run dry. So the issue here at the moment is that we've got a couple of different resources that are going to rely on those turbines. So we have the turbines, we have the graphene, they're all right here. I see what I need to do. So we're going to take away this snaking line a little bit. What goes on this line, by the way? Okay, this is... I see what this is. We're not producing that many right now because we don't have any turbines. So what I will do... Will you let me do this? Not quite. It would be glorious if you would, but you won't. Hang on. Will you let me do that? You almost will. You know what? I can do it the old-fashioned way. I can totally do this the old-fashioned way. Or maybe not. Oh, wait, now it's connecting. So hang on. Delete. Will you let me connect that to the line? You will. Oh, thank God. Okay. So there we go. I can delete that. So now we have that line coming through there. And what we can do is we can bring this one back out. Like so. And have it elevate to about right here. Then have it come back down. And then we just need to bring the copper over here. And what we'll start doing is having some production of, this will be next episode, but we'll start having some production of particle containers on Alpha Andromedae 2. And that will not be immediately useful because we don't have anything apart from the Interstellar Logistics Station unlocked that uses those. Let's also take a quick look before we end the episode at our production of these. So it really does seem like the main shortage is with the organic crystals. So let's go take a look at that and figure out what problem needs to be solved next episode, because it does seem like there is a bit of an issue. We are now sending all of our oil down this direction. It's still not very much. There's not a lot of sulfuric acid coming in. And because there's not a lot of sulfuric acid coming in, there's not a lot of well, no. Yeah, there's not a lot of graphene being produced here. But the plastic is actually dependent on the refined oil, which I'm still short on. So what I may actually need to do is cut back on the rate at which I'm consuming that refined oil now that I have... Let's go ahead and do this. Now that I've got a good power situation that's a little bit steadier with its surplus, I'm going to delete 4 of those power plants. You can see an immediate drop in our production, but not really enough to threaten. Let's go ahead and delete 2 more. And with that, I've got to stop this episode here because I'm having way too much fun. But in the next one, what I'm going to focus on is making sure, first of all, that that situation is kind of resolved and that this production chain is a little bit healthier, because this one suffered a little bit while we've been resolving the refined oil crisis. But then we need to visit Alpha Andromedae 4 after we get our production set up for... It's not going to be very plentiful production, but we're going to start focusing on producing the particle containers, because those will be more necessary as the series continues. Just not right now, but their usefulness is right around the corner. And then another thing we can really start thinking about doing once those problems are sorted, we'll probably have a bit more of a stock of these. We already have a pretty decent stock. I'm going to go ahead and empty that there. And so we can start thinking about building a Dyson swarm around our home star. Lots to think about, lots to do. Things are getting ever more complicated, but ever more fun at the same time, and that's Dyson Sphere Program for you. Thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed this one, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to follow along. If it's not your first time, or even your second, look for the join button to access unique emotes, badges, and other perks. New episodes are coming out every day at noon, US Eastern Time. Comments are always welcome. Let me know what you think, and I'll see you next time.